baby.
Hi, it's Lillian from the Postmodern family, and I just got back from my 34-week midwife appointment, and I wanted to chat with you guys about what happened and also the importance of writing a birth plan and how to write a good one. We reviewed that during this week, even though normally in the NHS you would review your birth plan with your midwife around 36 weeks. So ladies, if you're watching this before 36 weeks, do remind your midwife to maybe give you a questionnaire that helps you figure out what kind of questions that you should be thinking of as you write your birth plan. And also that if you're after 36 weeks and they still haven't talked to you about a birth plan, I would insist that you create something and bring it with you along at your next appointment so you can chat with them about that. First of all, my 34-week appointment was very smooth and nothing strange showed up. She took my urine sample. She had results from my blood work from the previous appointment, which was at 28 weeks. She didn't need to weigh me, and then she just checked the baby's heart rate, the fundal height, and the baby's position.
Hi. Hello. I'm sorry I woke you up, didn't I? Sorry, baby. Let's see what your head's doing. Excellent. I don't think that's going anywhere but out. That's
Great.
perfect. Really sensible baby.
Yay!
Who's that?
Baby.
There you go. As you can see.
What is doing?
Good news, the baby is in LOA, which is left occiput anterior. That is the optimal position for a baby to be in. And she also said the head was starting to engage, so it possibly means that the baby's not going to get out of that position, and it will probably settle into that position more and more, which is great news. We don't want the baby to be breech, obviously. We don't want the baby to be back to back, which is what she was. And I had I guess, back labor with her. I think my pelvic rocking has paid off, but I still think I do sit a little bit too reclined in general, like on the sofa or the couch. So we want to make sure that we're sitting forward, and we also want to make sure you are not crossing your knees when you're sitting, crossing your legs like that ladylike look. Just forget about all that when you're this pregnant, ladies. It's really important that you do not cross your knees when you're sitting, and also that you try not to sit reclined so that the baby is like heading towards the back of your body. So let me just show you what's been going on in my maternity care record. The summary has shown that I've had 4 visits so far in total. We haven't charted the fundal height or anything. I think mainly they do these things for people who have problems or maybe are at risk, so they can watch how they're growing. I had some general questions for her about home birth. My question was, if I wanted to get the vitamin K later and not at the home birth, do they do that? So first of all, she said they do bring the vitamin K shot to the home birth, and they usually give it to the baby within the first hour after birth. And so I said, well, if I don't want to have the baby have it that day, what do I do? And she said, well, it's quite a faff, and in order to get your vitamin K shot after the birth, maybe a day or 2 or 5 days later, whatever you're thinking, you would have to book it in with the GP, and it depends on the GP's availability, etc., etc. The reason why I was thinking about not having the vitamin K done at the birth was just the idea that this baby has come from a very safe and comfortable place in the womb, cushioned and warm and surrounded by fluids, very comfortable. Now, having gone through a traumatic experience, kind of traumatic, very exciting experience of coming through the pelvis, coming out into the world, experiencing air for the first time, coldness, dryness. I think the last thing I wanted to add to their new world experience is a jab, an injection. And so I was really not I'm not really feeling comfortable with doing that. However, the benefits of getting the vitamin K, it has shown in research that the vitamin K shot has pretty much eliminated, almost completely, internal bleeding in babies. So if you have a traumatic or a birth or any kind of birth that involves like forceps, vacuum extraction, obviously cesarean, then it would be highly recommended that you do get that vitamin K shot so that their blood clotting is good and working. Now, if you have a very smooth birth, there's less evidence that you need it, but I guess you never know if there's going to be some sort of internal bleeding that you can't identify, and that's what my concern is. So I do want to get the vitamin K shot. We did get it with her, but she was about 2 days old. But I'm still thinking, should I get it at the birth, maybe 2 or 3 hours after the birth, I'm hoping, as late as possible, or should I book it in with a GP on another day and have to bring my newborn baby out, into an office where you could be exposing the baby to many other germs and people, etc. So the way my pros and cons there, so far I'm leaning towards giving the baby the vitamin K shot at the home birth, but delaying it to the latest possible time, it being the last thing that I want the midwives to do. The other question I had was for the other tests like the PKU and any metabolic tests, they do require you to, at least where I am, they can't do it at your home, so they require you on day 5 to go into the local hospital and get the heel prick where they take the blood and they do the testing for any of these genetic problems. So that was a little bit disappointing because I was really hoping that I'll be able to get all of my follow-up visits and newborn checks at my house, that someone would be able to come out to me and I wouldn't have to bring the baby out of the house, because that was something I really did not like with my firstborn. I didn't like having to pack her up into a car seat, and she's tiny, and drive over to some doctor, and where they might be seeing other sick people, and I just didn't want to expose her to that. And I thought here in the NHS, it's been really great so far that they have health visitors and people who come and visit you. Yay! So I went over my birth plan with her because I had it with me and we had the time to chat about it. And pretty much she's been really pleased with that I'm asking for realistic things, a couple things that are a little bit difficult. For example, I don't want to have any vaginal exams, and that's a little bit like freaky for midwives because they want to know how far along you are. They want to know how it's progressing. But there is really no benefit other than the fact that they know how far you are. So there's no benefit to figuring out the health of the baby or anything like that. So there are more risks when you have the introduction of someone else's hand up in that area, fiddling around, because there is a higher risk of, your waters breaking early, introduction of bacteria, having an inaccurate read of the dilation, and that can really affect people emotionally. If you feel like you've been working really hard through each contraction for 5 hours, and then they check you and they say you're only 2 centimeters, how depressing is that for someone who feels like they've been working really hard during their labor? So I don't want to have any vaginal exams. And she said that they can't do anything about it if I refuse. So thankfully I can be confident to know that I won't be getting any vaginal exams for my home birth. The other thing that I thought was really cool was I found out about this thing called the cord tie, and it's an umbilical cord tie. So it's like a crocheted piece of string basically. And instead of using that plastic clip to clamp onto the cord, you can tie it up with a piece of string, and it's much more comfortable for breastfeeding babies and also in general, because you don't have that plastic clip hanging onto the end of the baby's belly and possibly irritating the baby. So I thought that was a little bit of because I had never heard of it before about a month ago, but she totally knew what it was, and she said, "Oh, do you have one of those?" And I said, "Yes, I do." And she said, "That's exciting, that's great." And she said that she had a really, really cute, very hungry caterpillar designed one that she used once on a mother. So so that was great that she was familiar with it and it wasn't anything abnormal to ask for. So that was cool. The next thing I'm waiting for is I'm going to see the midwife again at 36 weeks, and then that's when I think she gets to schedule in when they're going to drop off the home birth kit. So I'm excited about that arriving. That'll probably be around 37 weeks. So this was my little summary on my 34-week midwife appointment. And if you're interested in my thoughts as a birth educator on what you should do about your birth plan, please do click on that card, and then you'll be taken to my video on how to write a birth plan, why it's important, and some of the pitfalls that I see happening with people who are trying to write a birth plan properly. Thanks so much for watching this video on my 34-week midwife appointment. I hope to see you guys at 36 weeks, and we'll keep in touch then. Peace.